Thank you everyone for subscribing to Infinitely Productions. If you have not done so, please click the bell and subscribe, and we hope you enjoy our content.
Bookmaking. He was a runner.
Then, in 1950, at the age of 21, Gigante found himself in the wrong place at the wrong time.
He was involved in a bookmaking ring, trying to hustle bets at a college in Brooklyn. And at that time, there was a crackdown by the local district attorney.
Vincent Gigante was convicted and served 60 days in a workhouse for distributing basketball betting cards to students. When he got out, the mob welcomed him back with open arms. Over the next few years, Gigante made a living as a bookie, chauffeur, and bodyguard for the mafia's elite. But Chin was still waiting for a chance to make his mark. He was 29 when he earned the assignment that would make his career: to kill a mob boss, a godfather named Frank Costello. By 1950, Vincent Gigante had been a boxer and bookie for the New York Mafia. Now 21 years old, he decided to start a family. That year he married Olympia Grippa. The couple settled into an apartment on Bleecker Street in Greenwich Village, not far from where Gigante had grown up. Once they started to have children, Chin worked hard to support his growing family.
He was an enforcer. He got involved in shoplifting, grand larceny, anything to make a buck. When you're doing things like that, you're trying to prove yourself to the older guys in the neighborhood.
But it wasn't until mobster Vito Genovese took Gigante under his wing that his criminal career began to take shape. During the mid-1950s, Genovese offered the brawny former boxer an opportunity to become his chauffeur.
It was sort of an apprenticeship program. He was both Genovese's driver and he was a guerrilla when it came to collecting loan shark debts, anything else. So in that way, he proved his mettle.
Gigante's new mentor was himself a man with ambitions. The current head of the family was Frank Costello, known as the Prime Minister of the underworld for his ability to influence local politicians. But many in the organization had seen their profits shrink during his reign. Vito Genovese thought he could take advantage of the discord.
Vito Genovese was tired of being number two and wanted to become number one. So he enlisted the Chin to do a piece of work, and that was to take a shot at Frank Costello.
For Gigante, this was a chance to move up in the organization.
That's part of the oath when you become a made member of the Mafia. So you have to be willing to kill for this family and put this family above your own family.
On the night of May 2nd, 1957, Gigante waited in the lobby of Costello's Central Park West apartment building. Costello walked through the front door and headed for his apartment. Gigante was no more than 6 feet behind when he leveled a pistol at Costello's head. But before squeezing the trigger, Gigante decided to deliver a message.
Chin called out Costello's name. "This one's for you, Frank." Frank Costello turned and looked at him.
His bullet missed its mark. The shot only grazed Costello's left temple. Gigante fled, while Costello managed to make his way to Roosevelt Hospital. He left several hours later with a bandage around his head and blood on his cream-colored suit. He told reporters he never saw the gunman.
We know that Vincent Gigante was an extremely large, at that point, almost obese, and an ex-fighter, and very, very easily recognized. So Frank Costello obviously recognized who the attempted assassin was.
As police began to investigate the shooting, Genovese whisked his young lieutenant to a hideout in upstate New York. While in hiding, Gigante made his first attempt to avoid prosecution by changing his appearance. Chin went on a crash diet.
The description of the gunman was that he was 300 pounds and very tall. A very much thinner Vincent Gigante came back to the city and turned himself into police, saying, "I heard you were looking for me."
Police charged Gigante with attempted murder. His trial was set for May of 1958.
Surprisingly enough, a person who gave his occupation as both a janitor and as a tailor was able to hire, at that time, probably the best criminal lawyer in New York, a man by the name of Maurice Edelbaum, to defend him.
Vinny, did you give yourself up because you were afraid?
No, you're crazy.
As the trial got underway, the prosecution called Costello's doorman, their key witness to the shooting.
Edelbaum was able to really rattle him. The guy had some kind of sight problem. He had an eye infection. So he was able to question it.
Frank Costello took the stand. Under oath, he told the jury that he couldn't identify Gigante as the man who shot him.
When Costello left the witness stand, almost everybody in the courtroom heard Chin, in a kind of loud stage whisper, say, "Thanks, Frank."
Gigante was acquitted on May 27, 1958. But the mob had yet to pass judgment on the failed hit.
In ordinary circumstances, that would have been really the end of Vincent Gigante. He either would have been killed by loyalists of Frank Costello for attempting to kill the man, or he would have been killed by loyalists to Vito Genovese for blowing an assignment.
But instead, Gigante's failed hit helped him move up the mafia's ranks when Costello decided to retire.
Frank Costello was smart enough to see the handwriting on the wall, and he wasn't going to hang around to see if he could withstand another attack, and just stepped down and lived out the rest of his life in relative peace and tranquility.
So instead of being executed, instead of being killed for a bungled hit, Gigante is brought into the crime family and now has great stature because he's connected with Vito Genovese, who's now the boss of that crime family. And his career was on the way up.
Gigante's ties to Genovese made him, for the first time, a target for the feds.
What is Gigante's relationship to you?
I think you fellas have asked enough questions. I think you ought to leave Mr. Genovese alone.
Vincent Gigante would soon develop a new disguise to conceal his criminal activities.
Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel and check out more of our content. Feel free to give your feedback and suggestions on what we should do next in the comments. This is Infinite Lee Productions. We love ya.